Welcome into a Victory Monday edition of Mic'd Up here on 580 WIBW. Fulton Caster with you, riding solo for at least 1 hour of the program today. Jake Laban is on his way back from Kansas City. He was at MIAA Media Days this morning. So Jake will be joining us later on in the show today. He will be here, so for any of you that, is sad that you're not seeing Jake's darling face on the stream or hearing Jake's darling voice, well, he'll be back here in a little bit. For those of you that are very happy that it's just me speaking to you, well, you get to enjoy that for about an hour. Either way, whichever end of the spectrum you're on, you can enjoy it in some way. We have a fun edition of the show today. It is a Victory Tuesday edition of the show. The Kansas City Royals actually got a victory and held on for a victory as they defeated the Cleveland Guardians 5-3. Last night at Progressive Field in Cleveland. A lot of home runs. Salvador Perez, after being homerless for over 40 plate appearances, or 70-some, or a lot of plate appearances. I get my numbers conflated. After Salvador Perez had a long homerless streak, he's now homered in back-to-back games. Maikel Garcia hit his first opposite field home run of his career. It was just a great game overall, including a quality start from Ryan Yarbrough, who at this point, all I'm saying is, contenders, you want a Ryan Yarbrough? It's not fancy. It's not pretty. But, I mean, he gets the job done. It gets finished. He figures it out. 6 innings, 1 run from Yarbrough. It was a good one. We're going to talk a lot of Chiefs today, including the big news from Andy Reid, and we will hear from Andy Reid on the show today. Coming up at the 2 o'clock hour, we'll get his full media availability from training camp. Kadarius Toney has had surgery. We will get into that more, but he has had surgery to clean up his knee. He should be ready to go by week 1, but we will get into that a little bit more. We will hear from Andy Reid. We will hear from Charles Omenihu as well, the new defensive end / defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. We will hear from him on today's show as well. Because it is MIAA Media Days, we're going to hear from the head Ichabod, Washburn football head coach Craig Schurig. Jake ran down him earlier today. Got to sit and chat with Craig. We're going to hear that at the top of the 1 o'clock hour. We're going to hear Jake's conversation with Washburn football coach Craig Schurig. Always fun to hear from Coach Schurig and getting the lowdown on the Ichabods. We'll also chat, since it is Tuesday, with Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, ChiefsDigest.com. That will come up at the bottom of the noon hour. We have odds makers, and in the bottom of the 1 o'clock hour, it's Tuesday, so it's CrossTalk Day. Brendan Dorzinski of 580 Sports Talk will join us at the bottom of the 1 o'clock hour. As always, you can join in on the show on our text line, 785-272-9429. You can also hop in on the live stream over on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Sports on 580 is that YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't. We would appreciate it as we inch ever so closer to 300. So the more subscribers you guys can help us get, the closer to 300 we get. And it's really fun to be able to say we reached that milestone. You can jump in the live comment section as well. I will say we are working on technical difficulties on the live stream on YouTube. Just wanted to be aware, if you're watching us on YouTube, you're seeing a big black screen right now. We're sorting it out, doing the best we can while also doing the show right now. So eventually we will get this sorted ASAP. But for now, if you're listening on traditional terrestrial radio, nothing's different to you. If you're watching online, it's audio only for a little bit. So just enjoy the little bit of audio only that might be going on for a little bit. But where we begin today's show is with the most annoying news of the day. Kadarius Toney left the first full practice the Chiefs had on Sunday after tweaking his knee on a punt return. We've seen a couple of reports in the few days since then discussing, what the injury timeline would be. Travis Kelce made a comment of hopefully he's back by week 1. And a few more different reports came in of how bad it could be, how it was tweaked. It's related to a cleanup procedure he had with, and this is something that Andy Reid made clear. And again, we heard full audio from Big Red coming up at the 2 o'clock hour. But on this specifically, Andy Reid made sure to note that the cleanup procedure they referenced with the first original tweak was a procedure he got done with the Giants last spring training. So it was not a procedure he got done this offseason. It was a while back with the Giants. He tweaked that knee during training camp on Sunday. And then Andy Reid led off his availability today with his usual injury updates, saying that Kadarius Toney this morning had surgery on his knee to clean up some cartilage, repair a few things. Reid says there's a chance he could return before the opener. And most importantly, Andy Reid says, quote, "I think we caught it at a good time." So let's be straight here with some of the situations in regarding to the knee for Kadarius Toney. We'll see what he does. We will see how this goes. We will see what ends up happening with his knee going forward. He's going to probably miss most, if not all, of the rest of training camp, which is going to be an absolute bummer. But he hopefully will be back by week 1. And I think that's the most important thing to note and discuss and try and break down with what's going to end up happening with Kadarius Toney is just, can he be back week 1? Patrick Mahomes spoke with the media today as well. You will hear from Patrick Mahomes coming up on 580 Sports Talk today. There has been a lot of talk from Mahomes, from Reid, that they're not worried about Toney missing mental reps, that he will, still participating in meetings, still participating in walkthroughs, still be around the team to try and still stay engaged with learning the playbook, the product, what the Chiefs are doing on offense, while going through and kind of rehabbing and resetting himself from this knee injury. I'm very intrigued at what ends up happening with Kadarius Toney in this knee. But the thing is, this is, as we discussed, this is the issue with Kadarius Toney. And I hate framing it as an issue because it makes me feel like that there's a level of control that Kadarius Toney could have over this situation, when in reality, there's just really not. To an extent, injuries can be prevented from a way of controlling your body and conditioning your body. You can be in some level of good shape. You can work on your flexibility. You can work on those different things. This is I'm prefacing with this, about to be a really weird comparison. Giancarlo Stanton with the Yankees right now and is with the Marlins. He has always had soft tissue injuries, which, if you really think about it, are actually tied to how muscular he is and how tight his body's wound, which leads to soft tissue injuries. Different sport, different athletes, different everything. But the crux of the point is some level of injury issues and being injury prone is controllable. The thing is with Kadarius Toney, especially this particular injury, this isn't controllable. He had a cleanup procedure last year to try and clean up his knee. It seemed to work. He tweaks it on a punt return and has some issues here. There's not much of that he can control. There really isn't. A level of Kadarius Toney's injuries, I think, are just based on his body at times having issues to compensate for his athleticism. We talked about when he injured his ankle. I believe it was it was near the AFC Championship game, or it was one of the games late last year. I feel like it was against Cincinnati, and now I'm just trying to remember which Cincinnati game it was, where Toney hurt his ankle on a cut. He was making a cut on the sideline and hurt himself. That's a level of needing to maybe, if there's anything Kadarius Toney can maybe work on, it's understanding his body a little better to go at a gear that lets him be successful but not open himself to injury. It's very complicated. It's very complex. I hope Kadarius gets a nice full recovery. We're all going to wish the best for him. I think he's going to be fine. Kadarius Toney is also apparently a person of his teammates bound and determined to be back for that Lions season opener in September on that Thursday night at Arrowhead, when the Chiefs raise up the banner for their second Super Bowl title under Patrick Mahomes, third in franchise history. People forget the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl. In case anyone forgot that, the Chiefs are your reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. So I'm just fascinated to see what this does, and how does this impact the team is the other factor, because the Chiefs, openly put a lot of eggs in the Kadarius Toney basket this season. The Chiefs have talked at length about Kadarius Toney essentially being their wide receiver one, being the guy they think can take the wide receiver one snaps, take the heavy workload, take being on the field all the time, take being part of, being one of two guys who's the focal point of the offense in addition to Travis Kelce. That was the Chiefs' plan going into this season. And already it's being turned on its head with the fact that Kadarius Toney is now injured, and we'll see what he ends up having to do. This opens the door, as we talked about a lot. Sky Moore, Richie James, Justin Watson opens the door for the entire, Rashee Rice opens up the door for the entire Chiefs room to step up. But this was the worry. This was the worry with Kadarius Toney. This was the worry with, seeing if he could be the guy, the one to step up, the person to be your number one wide receiver. The danger was he's not played a lot of games. He has played very few games in his NFL career due to various injuries. I mean, he's been in the NFL now for 2 full seasons. This is going into his 3rd season in the NFL, which he has had an ability in the regular season to play 34 regular season games. That would be the number to 17-game seasons. 17 plus 17 is 34, unless my math is bad, and I don't for once think it is. He's played 19 of 34 games. 19. Barely over half the games he has played. Year 1 with the Giants, he played 10 games. That's just, and when he's on the field, it is helpful, and it is something that you've liked to see. I mean, he had in just 7 games, 171 yards for the Chiefs, 14 catches. It's a very small sample size. But outside of the raw counting stats, watching him on the field, he did things that made the Chiefs better. He was a difficult guy to bring down after the catch. Very crisp route runner. Very quick and athletic going in and out of his breaks, which makes it hard for defenders to stay with him. Does a lot of things that you enjoy and you think will be beneficial to this team. But he can't stay healthy. And I don't know how much that'll change as time goes on. I think there are things you can do and systems in place and an understanding of your body you can do to work on being, injury prone. We've seen injury prone athletes figure it out. I mean, again, different sport, different athletes did everything, but just in the concept of injury prone. Steph Curry had glass ankles for like 3 years and then did some work, figured out what worked for him, and then, got over injury history. There is in every sport guys that have injury histories that they overcome them to have good careers, and it works out after some time. But then, I mean, Jake made the comparison yesterday. Then there's, Adalberto Mondesi for the Royals for all those years. Now with Boston, who hasn't even played a game for the Red Sox yet after the trade, it seems like they just can't find a way to stay healthy, that the body breaks down at some point every time. It's a thing that's unpredictable. It's very unfortunate with how unpredictable it is, but it's also just the nature of the beast sometimes. So hopefully Kadarius Toney gets healthy sooner rather than later. Hopefully that he is able to find a way to get back on the field before week 1. Would like to see him back at the very end of training camp at least. But no matter what, as long as he is healthy and ready to go for the first game against the Lions, I think that's really, if you're the Chiefs, kind of the biggest thing you hope for and the biggest thing you shoot for. We got a lot to get to here on the show today. Remember, coming up at the bottom of this hour, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider, will join us to chat about the Kadarius Toney injury and how things are looking at training camp as well. But we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, though, Royals got a victory yesterday. We'll give a little recap of the Royals' win over the Guardians. Welcome back into Mic'd Up on this lovely Tuesday afternoon in the capital city. It is a Victory Tuesday edition of the show because Kansas City Royals got a win last night, 5-3 over the Cleveland Guardians. Folks, they're one win away from 30. They are 29-73. That is depressing. That is one of those depressing things I have ever had to say on these airwaves. The Royals, though, did get the win 5-3. Ryan Yarbrough, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run allowed. Struck out 1 batter because that's what he does as a soft tossing lefty. The Royals survived Jose Quaz trying to give the Guardians back the game as he gave up 2 runs in his 1 inning of work in the 7th inning. But the Royals were able to hang on and get the victory. Carlos Hernandez pitched a clean 8th inning, and Scott Barlow notched his 12th save of the season with a tightrope walking 9th, but he did get the job done. Not a ton of what I'd call like drastic highlights from the game. The Royals had 1 hit with runners in scoring position all night. They were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. But that 1 hit was an Edward Olivares a 2 RBI double. So there's 2 runs right there on your 1 hit, so make it count. And then Salvador Perez hit a home run, which was great to see. Also, that home run is noteworthy for Salvador Perez. It gave Sal his 200th home run as a catcher. And to the very stupid clarifications of, with Salvador Perez wearing catcher's gear in the game, with him as a catcher in the lineup, Salvador Perez hit his 200th home run as a catcher. He is now in the top 10 for home runs as a catcher, just the 10th player in Major League history to hit 200 home runs playing the catcher position. Again, a very stupid clarifier. All of his home runs should be counted as a catcher because, all right, catcher or DH, who cares? Same diff. I don't think it's that big of a difference, but that's my soapbox. And then Michael Garcia hit a home run to the opposite field. It was a nice win. Cleveland is not that good. Like, I know we make the jokes about how bad the Royals are, and they are truly horrendous. Cleveland is 49-51, and the only reason they win games is because their pitching is good. Like, that offense is putrid. Like, the Royals can beat Cleveland if they just find a way to get hits, which is how they won 5-3, because they actually got to Logan Allen, the starter, and was able to get the job done. But overall, it was a nice win. It was a perfectly fine win. It was nice to see. Kyle Isbell getting a pair of hits was nice. Bobby Witt Jr., another 2-hit game. Bobby Witt Jr. at one point was 0 for 20. And after he snapped his 0 for 20 streak, he's now had 3 straight multi-hit games. That's good to see. MJ Melendez cool off a little bit, but at least he was hitting the ball hard. I still believe MJ would benefit from a little trip down to Omaha, but that's neither here nor there. Maikel Garcia had his one hit being the home run. Edward Olivares had just one hit being that double. So the Royals cashed in where they could. Everyone else, there's not really an impressive performance to say from the rest of the Royals. Game 2 of the series is tonight between the Royals and the Guardians at Progressive Field in Cleveland. No lineups, obviously, this early in the day with it being a 6:10 first pitch, but Zach Greinke will go to the mound to pitch for the Royals. That'll be his second start since coming off the injured list. He gave up 2 runs in 4 innings his last time up in the rotation. He'll be opposed by Aaron Savali for the Guardians tonight. And for Zach Greinke, and I want to look this up real quick because I'm just very curious about something. Yep, that's about what I thought. Zach Greinke's 1-10 this season. He has 10 losses. The last time Zach Greinke had double-digit losses in a season, 2018, when he had 11. He was 15-11 for the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2018. Now, as I always say, wins and losses are a terrible statistic for pitchers. They are the second most useless statistic for a pitcher because they don't tell you a lot. A guy can have a quality start and lose, and a guy can get, like Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver's ERA for the Reds. A good old Royals friend, Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver for the Reds. His ERA is over 8. His last 10 starts. I don't know what his win-loss record is in that time, but the Reds are 9-1. Which means Luke Weaver's record probably is either really low with literally at most 1 loss in it, and then probably a bunch of no decisions, or he's got some wins in there by being bad. That's my point. Like, wins and losses are stupid. But I just seeing that 1-10. Zach Greinke's career high for losses was with the Royals in 2005 when he went 5-17. That is, of course, around the time Zach Greinke basically said, hey, what if I stop doing this baseball thing and just mowed lawns for forever? And Dayton Moore was like, hey, you're really good at this. How about you don't? And that turned to be fruitful because Zach Greinke is going to be a Hall of Famer. But Royals Guardians tonight, 6:10 first pitch, 5:30 pregame, coming up at the end of 580 Sports Talk. That can all be heard right here on 580 WIBW. We're going to take a timeout for our little ag update. When we come back, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com will join us for our Chiefs Insider Report. Headed to Kansas City or Kansas City adjacent, as it is time for one of our most fun conversations of the week. It is our Tuesday staple. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com covers the Kansas City Chiefs better than just about anybody on this walking this planet right now. You can find Matt's great work at ChiefsDigest.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. He is our Chiefs insider. Matt, my first very hard-hitting, in-depth investigative report question for you is this. Are you still in St. Joe, or have you made it back to Kansas City yet?
I am still in St. Joe. I am here in, I never know for sure if it's Bloom Union, BLUM, but here in the Student Center where the media center is. So I am still in the heart of St. Joe and the Missouri Western State University campus.
Still out there, boots on the ground. That's why Matt does it better than anybody else. Matt, first things, I guess there's nowhere else really to start with the Chiefs at training camp than this. Andy Reid gave an update on Kadarius Toney's health today, said that Toney this morning had surgery to clean up some cartilage in his knee. Just overall, from what you've heard and being down there, just does this feel like kind of sudden that this happened? Did you at least feel like maybe it would be something serious enough to need surgery to clean up the knee? And I guess moreover, how do you think the injury in general impacts the Chiefs going forward from kind of a broad perspective?
Yeah, this was probably about the worst case scenario than what it sounded like on Sunday when the Chiefs were talking about it being a tweaked knee. Certainly, your best expectation is that maybe it's just something that's going to keep him out for a few days. It was an old lingering thing that popped up again. But in this case, it sounds like it is a little bit of that he had surgery when he was with the Giants before. So it's been an issue in the past, but. For just going in and repairing a torn meniscus, I mean, that is kind of, when you're talking about a tweak, but that's about the worst possible tweak, but it's not something that, expecting to keep stuck out for months. It's more like weeks. So, Andy Reid said today, that, hey, Kadarius Toney is bound and determined to get back by week 1. And that is a possible timeline. I mean, it might be tough, especially coming at the beginning of camp and you're not really in football shape at all yet. But we'll see. But, there's some optimism that maybe week 1 he is back out there.
I think that would be the best timeline if he can be back by week 1. One of the things that I wonder with this is now he's obviously, let's even say if he does get back by week 1, he's probably still going to miss at least the physical reps through training camp. I know Patrick Mahomes, he spoke today as well. Spoke a little about, he'll still be part of meetings, walkthroughs, he'll get those mental reps in. How much do you think this does affect Toney's ability to try and fully ingrain himself into this offense, the fact that he will miss out more than likely on nearly all the physical reps he could have at training camp the rest of this way?
Yeah, I think that has to be considered a little bit more significant to me because remember last year coming in, he only had really a small portion of the playbook. I mean, it was really just a specific set of packages for Kadarius Toney. So it wasn't like the work that he was doing even on the practice field in the second half of the season was starter level work. I mean, it was really specific to game plans and just specific looks. So it wasn't like he was getting a whole lot of practice and reps then. But as Andy Reid said, I mean, they feel like that he's sharp enough to be able to pick things up, that from the mental side of things, that he should understand the playbook. And I can say with the, limited what we saw with Kadarius Toney last year, you didn't see a guy who was lost on the field. You didn't see somebody who didn't look like he knew where he was lining up or understand the offense. He seems to grasp those things. So that shouldn't be the hard part. But when you're talking about getting a guy up to where maybe he is taking 70, 80% of the reps and he's a full-time starter and getting that timing down with Mahomes and everybody else, that's now going to be a little bit trickier. You're going to be trying to really get that done on the fly because you're going to miss 5 weeks of really getting to do that in the preseason. So I do think that's going to hamper him a little bit. I can say that from watching practice the last couple of days, when he goes down, a couple of guys kind of rotate in there. Clearly, Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore are positioned to be the other starters, so they're going to get their usual amount of work. But we saw a lot of Justin Watson, a lot more Rashee Rice. Those guys are definitely in position to play more with Tony out.
Speaking of that, Matt, with Kadarius Toney now being out, who do you think is the number one benefiter in that receiver room? And I say benefiter, not in kind of this positive way. You don't want to have to get your reps increased because your teammate of yours went down. But the fact that someone's got to pick up the reps and something's got to get moved up, who do you think is kind of the biggest benefiter in that receiver room from the fact that Toney is going to miss essentially the rest of training camp?
I mean, I think those are the two guys, and Watson and Rice, that are really positioned to do that. Justin Watson probably because, I think it just reiterates that he's the glue guy. He's the guy that can step in and play any position. He's got that multiple versatility. So even though he's not as dynamic of a receiver as Kadarius Toney, but he's the guy that knows every position. He can do everything. In that regard, it kind of reminds me of an Albert Wilson, as far as somebody you can trust to be out there on the field, and that they're going to be in the right places. It won't necessarily be the most electric play, but they'll keep the job done and they'll keep things together. And I think Rashee Rice is the other guy. I mean, especially what he has shown so far, during OTAs and in training camp. Hey, my caveat is let's see what the pads come on. We know what to expect from Justin Watson. We saw it a year ago. But if Rashee Rice continues to show what he's done thus far, once the physicality picks up a little bit more, that guy is going to get on the field.
I've seen and this is you put the proper caveat. This is all pre-pads. Fridays when the pads come on and kind of can change some things up. What have you seen from Rashee Rice early on here in training camp? Because it seems like after the rookie mini camp where there was the conditioning questions and Andy Reid kind of calling a guy out as much as Andy Reid will ever really call a guy out publicly, he has seemed at least the past couple of days here early on these first team practices, he seems to really be figuring some things out. How has Rashee Rice looked to you these first few full team practices of training camp?
Yeah, really interesting because you do go back to that comment that Andy Reid made during the rookie minicamp, and it really did kind of go back to the fact that Rashee Rice this is not the kind of work that he's used to. I mean, he comes from a college offense where they just don't make you run like they do in the NFL, and nobody I think runs more than Chiefs wide receivers in a practice. I mean, they put a lot on those guys. It wasn't that he wasn't in shape; it was just that he probably wasn't built up for the stamina of an Andy Reid practice. But you can see he's holding in there much better now. He got his work in. He understood things. He started doing different work, and you can tell. I mean, he is absolutely in shape and has definitely just looked better and better by the day. The thing that really stands out to me for a rookie is that I don't see him, doubting himself on the field. He seems to be playing with a ton of confidence. He seems to be in the right place all the time. He's lining up in the proper place. He seems to know his routes. You can handle those two things. If you can get on the field and you're not disrupting the offense for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you're getting in the right place, you're not making mistakes, and you've got the physical talents that he has, you're going to play. And that's why I do have the caveat. Let's see what happens when the pads come on and, it's more physical and there's more hand checking and all of that. But right now, I mean, Rice is built to stand up to that. And he's passed every test so far.
Matt Derrick is our guest here on Mic'd Up on the Flying Place Wine and Spirits phone line. Matt Derrick covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. All right, moving to the other side of the football here. And the first question I got on the defense is from a guy who I guess apparently had himself a very fine day at training camp practice today. Drue Tranquill, the new linebacker addition to the Chiefs, somebody I think can fit in really well and fill a little bit of a need and a hole into this Chiefs defense. One, how did Drue Tranquill look today? Because it seems like he looked very good today. But overall, in the first few days of team practices, what have you thought of the new addition in Drue Tranquill for the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo's defense?
Yeah, I've been really intrigued to see how they're going to use Drue Tranquill because, we already saw him with the Chargers. This is a good football player. He always gave the Chiefs, fits, especially in coverage. He's really good at covering tight ends. And he's obviously a really good tackler, too. I mean, there's a lot to like about him. And I was curious, just even OTAs, I wasn't quite seeing how they were getting him to fit in. And I think that the answer is that everywhere. He does do a lot of work with the twos because they are letting him call defenses so he can be the backup at the Mike position behind Nick Bolton. But he's probably going to be the primary backup everywhere. And I certainly would expect him to be out on the field in a lot of third down packages and some passing situations, because that's one of his best skills, is being able to cover, especially big tight ends. And we saw that today. I think he had at least 3 passes broken up today, 2 of them on back-to-back plays. He hasn't had any problems with pretty much anybody that he's been covering at this point. He's got good speed, good movement. We'll see. Today was really the first day that we saw any run period, and I thought he held up well there too. Let's see what happens when, like we talked about Friday, when the pads come on and the physicality steps up. But right now, as far as being that primary 4th linebacker, Drew Tranquill's going to play a lot, and they also now have a guy that if there's any injuries, this is a veteran savvy guy that they trust in that spot.
With Tranquill, you talk about Steve Spagnuolo looking like he's going to use him in so many different spots in a myriad of ways. My biggest thought when trying to figure out how he's going to fit in is I feel that if he's taking anyone's snaps away, because usually when a new guy comes in, somebody's snaps got to go down. And it felt like Nick Bolton wasn't going to be that guy because you really have your green dot come off the field. So I felt like the guy he might cut into is Willie Gay. Early on here, kind of seeing the rotations, do you feel like I would that Willie Gay might be the one who sees the most of his snaps produced with the addition of Drew Tranquill? Or does it really look like Spagnuolo, at least early on, is doing the best he can to really balance out those snaps and not really reduce any one player being on the field?
Yeah, right now, it actually probably looks like it would be reduced a little bit, for both those guys. I don't think it's going to be taking a lot away from either one. And that's probably a good thing. One, Drew Tranquill, I think is probably better positioned in a couple of spots than either Leo Chanel or Willie Gay. So especially like in passing situations, I think that's always going to be a guy that you're going to have out there with Nick Bolton. It's going to be Tranquill. And if you're in, a standard base formation, in a standard 4-3, you might have Tranquill out there. Just depending on the situation, what we've seen so far, it can be either Gay or Chanel. They've shown both those looks. And that is clearly, I'm sure, part of also Steve Spagnuolo just trying to figure out which lineup works best. He is big on mixing and matching this time of year. We could talk for an hour about how he's mixing and matching in the secondary right now. We'll see what happens with the rotation. But my expectation is that you're probably going to see both those guys back off their play, help keep them fresher. I think that'd be good for both of them.
With the defense, is there anyone in particular, outside of Drew Tranquill specifically, is there anyone else on defense seeing the first few days of practice that's really stepped up or stood out to you watching just all these practices?
It's a little bit further down the depth chart, but I don't think there's any doubt that the guy who's been most impressive as far as picking up a big gain from last year to this year is Nazeeh Johnson at cornerback. Today he was running with the first team, and some of that is, absolutely Spagnuolo is rotating those guys a lot, especially because L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie were both coming off injuries that limited them during OTA, so he wants to kind of keep their pitch counts down a little bit. But Johnson is deserving his playing time. He absolutely is. He is, to me, looks like a different player on defense than he was a year ago, playing with a lot more confidence, a lot more speed and quickness. And frankly, looking at the depth chart right now, I as far as the rotation goes, you could put Nazeeh Johnson ahead of Jalen Watson. Especially after what we saw today, and maybe on par with Josh Williams. We'll see if that sticks, if he continues with it. But he's hanging with both those guys right now. So I've been really impressed, and he has been making some really good plays, even going back to OTAs.
Man, if Nazeeh Johnson all of a sudden came out and leapfrogged Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams, 2 guys who were heavy contributors to this defense last season, I would say maybe Brett Veach should get some kind of a special ring or plaque for that draft last season. Speaking of drafts and young players, outside of Rashee Rice, some of these other rookies for the Chiefs coming up here, Shamari Connor, Nick Jones, Keontae Coburn, how have the rookies looked so far in training camp for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think they've looked pretty solid. There's no one outside of, I think, Rice that's really getting pushed super hard ahead of schedule. He's definitely getting the most work. I don't think there's any doubt about that, he's the guy that I would expect the most of this year. Even a guy like Felix, the Chiefs have an opportunity to really kind of bring him along slowly because they like the guys in front of him. And he probably is, more of a future pick. Not that you can't expect and shouldn't expect your first round pick to come in and make an impact. He's certainly there, but and he's been making plays. But at this point, they are kind of bringing him along slowly. I've been kind of surprised about the same thing with Keontae Coburn because he looks like he belongs. He certainly has the size to belong. Plays with a lot of confidence. it's still early. I mean, there's still 16 training camp practices, so there's plenty of time for movement up the depth chart. But those guys are interesting. I mean, I'll tell you what, the other guy that kind of the surprise that might really sneak in there is Nick Jones. I mean, as deep as that defensive backfield is going to be, I was really wondering, especially with the youth of last year's draft class, how does Nick Jones make this roster, as a seventh round draft pick? I think he's going to make it now. I mean, it's certainly what he has shown us so far. He's got a nose for the football, doesn't seem to make a lot of mistakes. They really want to see if he can be a backup nickel slot, corner, and he's done pretty well in that position too. So if they feel like that he's the guy that they can groom to be that kind of maybe a nickel of the future when you're envisioning a secondary in a few years, that maybe you have L'Jarius Sneed, maybe you don't, but you got Trent McDuffie and maybe you want to keep him on the outside. Nick Jones has got something. So I think he might be, after Rashee Rice, maybe the second most interesting guy to watch right now.
Just a final few questions for Matt Derrick, who's joining us on the Flam Place Wine and Spirits phone line here on Mic'd Up. Matt is your Chiefs reporter for ChiefsDigest.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. All right, Matt, we're here. We're talking about the Chiefs. We had to bring it up eventually, even though there's not been a lot of updates. The Chris Jones contract situation. The sides are reportedly far apart. Chris Jones might want $30 million a year. The Chiefs and him are still negotiating things. Any updates that you've heard on the Chris Jones contract situation? And moreover, when do you think he might finally show up to training camp?
I mean, it has been surprisingly quiet. I certainly am surprised that he's not here. Andy Reid said he was surprised that he's not here. There was an expectation that this wasn't going to be that hard of a negotiation from the Chiefs side of things. They thought that they were going to be a lot closer than this. But remember, if we're talking about Chris Jones being paid the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league, right now there's more than a $7.5 million gap per season window that you can slot him into. And that's apparently a bridge too far that these guys just can't get over. Doesn't seem to be any expectation that a resolution is placed, but my next day to watch is Friday, because when the pads come on is typically when, especially your teammates, are going to be starting to be like, okay, work's getting serious now. We all need to be here. Remember, last year when the pads came on was when Orlando Brown showed up. So that's the next day for me to watch. That's going to be the time when I think that the peer pressure is going to start, coming down on Chris Jones. And I mean, I honestly, with what we've seen around the league, I wouldn't have even blamed him if he decided to do a lock in, where or sit in, where you come in and you report to camp, but maybe you just don't practice until you get the new deal. I mean, we've been seeing that a lot around the league.
That's kind of what Jake and I were discussing.
The hold in, excuse me.
Yeah.
My third triumph. I got it.
Yeah, the hold in is kind of what Jake and I were discussing, because, he's losing $50,000 a day every day he's not there. And if there's ever evidence of the guy lives a different life than us, he's just, washing $150,000 down the drain and apparently isn't even thinking twice about it. All right, Matt, my final two questions for you, my two for the road. First things first, has a challenger emerged yet to fight you for earliest person at Chiefs practice, a la Vitaly Gorman last year?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed so far. There hasn't been a clear-cut winner. Yesterday was a washout because of the rain, so the players just go straight into the facility. Nobody goes down to the practice field. However, I was in the parking lot at 8 o'clock, so I would have won yesterday easily without the rain. But I am 2-0 on the other days of real training camp. The only player that's come close at this point is Deon Bush, because he was first on day one and he was second today behind Justin Reid. So the safeties are showing up. They're showing out. Their meeting schedule, I think, helps them out a little bit. But at this point, I'm pretty disappointed in the competition because nobody's challenged me right now, folks.
Man, someone out there, Chiefs, if any of you are listening to this program, step up. Someone give Matt a challenge for earliest guy to show up to training camp. Come on, everybody. The last thing I got for you, weather is a tiny bit better in St. Joe than it is over here in the capital city right now. We're scorchingly hot under heat advisors. I know you guys are fairly warm over there, but not massively so. There's also still, though, a good sized turnout for all the open practices for fans to show up with. I'll ask you this, Matt. Do you have any advice you'd give to fans for kind of dealing with any weather-related parts of things as any of them maybe show up to St. Joe for an open training camp practice?
Yeah, that's the tough thing, because for fans, I think it's a miserable experience.
I would say so.
Because there is literally no shade. There is nothing. There's nothing you can do. I really, I mean, I don't think that they necessarily ban umbrellas. They probably do, but you know, I mean, you can't even use that for some shade. Uh, there's just nothing to avoid the sun. So I guess one, bring a lot of sunscreen. Two, bring a blanket, because if you do end up sitting on the hill, today it was still wet from yesterday's rain. So, you know, you need a blanket for that, something you don't mind getting all messy and dirty. Bring something to protect yourself from the shade. I mean, big floppy hat. I don't know. The bucket hats are pretty popular. Do what you need to there. I don't like the stands. I mean, I've been in the stands before, but those things kind of heat up a little bit too, and then you're kind of jammed in there. And I mean, at least in the stands, you're close to some refreshments, and you can hide in the shade for a little bit. But you get better views on the grass hills, so it's tough. But yeah, I mean, if you can find a way to protect yourself from the sun and get yourself a little shade, that's the best way to go. And definitely come during the week, because the weekends are terrible. There's just too many people.
As someone who absolutely despises the heat, my heart goes out, one, to you, Matt, and every other media member who is out there in the weather, in the elements, trying to recover these things and get the videos and the good shots. And then for fans that go, it feels crazy to me. It's always insane. Matt, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, my friend. Stay cool the rest of today and the rest of training camp, and we'll chat with you next week, hopefully with Chris Jones at least being in camp, and if not, maybe with a new contract as well.
And hey, as long as the humidity isn't 70% again, you know, I'll be fine. But today was a steamer.
Oh, that sounds even worse. Thanks again, Matt. Have a good one.
Thanks, Fulton. Take care, buddy.
That is Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. Always a pleasure to chat with Matt. That'll do it for the noon hour mic'd up. Coming on the 1 o'clock hour, we're going to hear Jake's conversation with Washburn head coach Craig Schurig. It's time for hour number 2 of Mic'd Up here on 580 WIBW. Fulton Caster here with you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We have a jam-packed 1 o'clock hour of the show. We're going to hear Jake's conversation with Washburn coach Craig Schurig in just a moment. Brendan Dworzinski is going to join us for a CrossTalk. Everyone loves a list. Best carnival rides or activities. It's National Merry-Go-Round Day. I'm not a big fan of the merry-go-round. I was never, it's just riding in a circle on a weird horse thing. But that makes me think of carnivals, and carnivals are fun. Carnivals are cool. So today's list today is best carnival rides or activities. Jake should be back with us by then. But if not, I still got my good man, Kyle Manthe, across the glass to help me out. So always you can join out on the text line, 785-272-9429. Or in the live comment section of our YouTube live stream. Go to youtube.com. Sports on 580 is that YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe if you would. We would appreciate it. If you get closer to 300, you can jump in the comment section as well. But without further ado, Jake LeBon at MIAA Media Day sat down with Washburn Ichabod head coach Craig Schurig to discuss the upcoming season for the Bonds. Here's Jake's conversation with Craig Schurig.
Here at MIAA Media Days for the football kickoff for the Division II football season, kind of unofficially today, as we are now going to be joined by the head coach of the Washburn Ichabods, head coach Craig Schurig, the dean of the MIAA coaches all the way back to 2002 till now. So we got another season, excitement, ready to go. I'm guessing just every single year gets more and more excited. Is this year any different because of some of the guys that you've got back? A lot of O linemen, D linemen, a lot of players are coming back. Does this year feel any different?
Well, every year is different, obviously, because of the chemistry on the team and everything. So you're always anticipating, new things. I'd say different than last year would be just how our schedule lines out. So it's exciting. We go right down the first game opening week. We go to Pitt, which is a huge game. So I think our kids feel that too. So I'm anticipating their sense of urgency and their excitement to everything really to be amped up.
You said spring ball was really good this last year. What made it so good?
One of the things I think hopefully we see benefit from, we had a number of guys with like minor surgeries after the season. So some of our main guys didn't participate in spring, but we got great work with the guys that we're anticipating helping this year. So I think we have a lot of players on offense, defense, and special teams that haven't played a lot of MIAA games yet, but they're ready to go. And spring ball was a great outlet for them to kind of show us what they can do.
You don't have as much say in the summertime because coaches are not allowed to talk a ton, but you do at least get to talk with the strength and conditioning coaches. So tell me, how was the summer? Was it a good turnout, bad turnout? What kind of feedback did you get?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We had some seniors or older kids that they get these internships, so it's hard to tell them, no, you got to stay in, and they're in different places working, but those are kids that are pretty disciplined. So I anticipate when we see them, they're going to be in great shape. But then one of the positives though was Kellen was here all summer. And, when you have your returning starting quarterback back, he kind of leads all that 7-on-7 timing. You are a receiver, that timing between quarterback and receiver is key. And you can develop a lot of things in the summer. They don't do a lot of team stuff other than getting that team chemistry going. But the training, I think, was really good. Coach Troop does a great job with it. And the kids that actually do our stuff, they come in the best shape. But I think other kids that weren't around and talking to them, they're ready to compete and ready to go.
Talking with head coach Craig Schurig of the Washburn Ichabod football team here at MIAA Media Day. All right, you mentioned Kellen Simoncic. Great year leading up to it. Gets hurt, has shoulder surgery, misses the last 2 games. But, man, got back a lot quicker. He told me, I made spring ball. Like, you did what? Because you guys start spring ball a little bit earlier. So tell me, how is he? He looks bigger. He looks stronger. Take me through healthy, ready to go. And he says he's full bore.
Yeah, he should be a bigger, faster, stronger, better leadership, all those things version of what he was. And last year he's really good. So I think he should be one of the top players in the conference. Knock on wood, he stays healthy, and he should be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Distributes the ball really well, very smart. I think he'll take his game to the next level, getting us in and out of plays that maybe, you see the defense, you don't like this play, get us into something that's better. So his knowledge of the game and his overall leadership with our players as whether they're offense or defense or whatever, I think they'll have a hell of a lot of confidence in him.
Let's get to who's he going to throw to. J.J. Letcher, Peter Affle, no longer there. Big difference.
Yes.
So What's going to happen? Who's going to step up? Who are we looking at?
Yeah, we'll be a little different that way. I mean, we're so explosive over the last few years that JJ, obviously, every time he touched the ball, it could go. Peter Affle, like you would say on the radio, all he does is catch touchdowns. And so they're gone. And so you got to replace that. I think we'll be spread out a little bit more. We won't have the one or two guys necessarily manufacturing all those catches. But we've returned some really good players. Colin Wilson's back. He's a very experienced receiver. We have Tice Brown, another guy that played a lot last year. But we may spread it out a little bit more. Maybe we have to be a team that gets more first downs and not as many maybe explosives, but still be very efficient on offense. And then, Taylon Peters, Tyler Bowden, those guys as running back should be, a really good 1-2 punch there. So I feel very good about our offense.
Offensive line, everybody's back. I got to know, is this maybe the most comfortable you felt with an offensive line group starting a season because everybody's back?
Yeah, when you have 6 returning 6-year seniors that have all played, a lot of them have started, you feel good. So we just need to stay healthy. And then we have some good backups too. So yeah, the most depth that we've had, definitely the most experience we've had. We've had some good old lines, but this group as a whole, I mean, you're returning a lot of playing time. And so that's another area that, when you have an O line that is they're athletic and strong kids and they're smart. So you feel good about where we're heading that way.
Let's move to the defensive side of things. Defensive line, some guys coming back, some people are gone. No Landon Urban, no Braden Rose. Those are some big shoes to fill. Who are you hoping can step up, and do you feel good that you might be able to go 8 deep up front?
Yeah, I think what we'll have is like Justice, who's here today. We hope that he plays more snaps than he did last year. Chase McCoy's another one. Those are our 2 primary starting D tackles. We'll have some other guys come in and play, but maybe they play 3/4 of the snaps and those other guys play a quarter. So we may not rotate as fluid. Patrick Altenor and Keener return at D end, and Phoenix Smith, who had a great year last year.
Yeah, just as a sophomore.
Yeah. And so those guys will rotate at the end. So we may rotate like 6 guys instead of 8. The other guys will get in, but I'd like those guys to stay healthy and probably get 3/4 of the reps, because there's a little bit of drop off after those guys come in. But those guys are as good as there are in our league.
Linebacker Grant Bruner, he ain't gonna be there. So who are we gonna have tackling people this year?
I know it. It'll be by committee. So Peevler's back. CJ we moved him from quarterback last year, and he should provide a lot. So we're going to have a number of guys play. We'll rotate a lot at linebacker. Like you said, Grant, kind of like JJ and Peter with the offense, Grant occupied a lot of tackles, made a lot of huge plays for us. So we need someone else to step up. Saw some good things in the spring from some guys, some younger guys. And so hopefully that continues in fall camp. But that's really that's an area where I think you'll see by committee kind of take those numbers.
Talking with head coach Craig Schurig of the Washburn football team. Let's stay with the defense. The secondary, a lot of guys back on the secondary. This could be one of the more veteran groups when it comes to your secondary.
Yeah, Finney will be kind of the anchor there. He played a ton last year, especially when Kevin got hurt, and he kind of took over and had a really good season. So that secondary, a lot of the safeties are back. Corners have played some, so they developed a lot in the spring ball. But again, I think we play a lot of guys, and that's kind of been our MO on defense, is playing a ton of guys. They all lock in, they get better as the season goes on, and then you can come at people with numbers. And I think we'll do that same thing. As long as they're playing really hard and playing smart, we'll be good in the secondary.
Is there something that we always talk about? You got to hang your hat on something. What is your identity? Does this team have its identity? Last year, I would say it was the explosiveness. Sure. That was it. No questions asked there. What's the identity this year?
Yeah, hopefully we can lean on our O-line, particularly early in the season, and kind of be a physical outfit. And that's what we're hoping to be, a very physical team. Run the ball better than we did last year, maybe be a little more balanced. We were a little bit more, pass over run last year, but balance it up on offense, utilize our strength, which hopefully is our strength and power up front. And then defensively, hopefully we're not huge on defense, but I think we're fast and physical, and come at teams with a lot of speed and physical play. And, hopefully that's what we show. And I think we do have a group that will play very hard And with that returning cast, I think we can be good. Every week's a challenge, as you know, in this conference. And we start off week one with a big time game. So hopefully we can, have a great camp and be ready to play week one like we should.
Well, any freshmen, JUCO guys come in that are going to see time? You kind of have an idea,
Right.
A little bit hard to tell until the pads come on, but any idea?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of transfers that semester. But we do feel good about our incoming class, but camp will tell that. So after about 2 weeks of camp, I'm hoping that we have some real competition. That's kind of the key for us is this start of camp. I think there'll be some really competitive positions, and that's at linebacker and some of the secondary positions and at wide receiver, where guys are competing with each other to see who's going to be the 1, 2, 3. And that leads to really good practices. So I'm excited about that.
Let's get to some new rule changes. The first one, clock's going to keep rolling after first downs until the last 2 minutes. Like it, dislike it. How big of an impact do you think it will have?
Yeah, it'll have some impact. I'm not a big fan of it. I just think we're reducing the number of plays, which are opportunities for kids to play the game. We don't have the problem like D1 does. They're trying to fit their time slot, and they have all those commercials and all.
There's a 4-hour game. Yours is not. So sometimes not even a 3-hour.
We have no issue. So, but the rules are the rules, so you do it. So I don't like the reduction in plays. I think you're just taking away plays from the kids. So, but you got to live with it. But I don't think it'll have a huge impact, but it will reduce the number of plays.
Do you have any idea? Like we're talking 15, 20 plays. It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. It usually is more than you think. But I would think it'd be, total plays will probably be in that 15 range. So, 7, 8 plays each team, something like that, which adds up, but I don't see a reason for it at our level, but we follow what the D1s do.
Positive one, the red shirt rule. I've been saying, why doesn't D2 get this? For the D1 world, it's the freshmen get 4 games and they can still keep their red shirt. For Division II, it's 3. So how do you approach this? Do you look at them in fall camp and say, we'll wait until the final 3 games? Do you just wait until someone gets hurt? Do you wait till injuries? Do you play them in a game and see, okay, let's see what they can do? Right. What's your strategy?
The beauty of it is it's there, and you don't know how a kid does until you see him playing a game. I mean, there's no way kids practice, but until you see him playing a game, you don't really know what they can do. And it gives you, more than one shot at it. So it's a good rule. I wish it was 4, but it's 3. But there'll be a variety of it. So we'll have some kids right in camp that we're thinking, hey, we're going to look at it like old rule. Hey, we think this kid's going to play all year. So we start playing him. If he's helping us win, we continue to play him. If not, if we feel like, hey, the older guy's doing better, then we'll look, okay, 3 games, he's done. We'll have some other kids that aren't quite ready, but later in the season when you're injured, you may use them as depth. So it's a huge rule, and we just have to have really good communication as a staff. What you're trying to do, that'll be something that we'll meet on, after games and as we go into each week. Hey, these are the kids we may play. So it does add another component. I think it's a great rule,
and it keeps the kids invested in the year.
Yeah, and there's so much you learn so much. Like you practice, but once you get in a kid in a game and he's seen the level of play that this conference is, their mindset changes, as a player, and that first hit or whatever, you're like, oh shoot, I better practice harder. And coaches are right. This is for real. So I think it's a great rule. Excited about it. Now we just have to, and we'll learn from it, how to best use it. But I think it's going to be different for a variety of your kids. And, some of them you're going to play early, some of them won't play till later, but it's all about developing them and then keep them in your program, which I think you hit on, which is big.
Let's go with a few kind of, I guess you could say, just D2 football related stuff. A couple committees put together to maybe change the way that Division II playoffs might end up going. Some alliances and all of that. It's pretty telling to know that the second best team in the conference last year beat the number 1 team in the GAC 87-3, and really wasn't much of a chance. You guys were 6 seconds away from beating that number 2 team. It's always seemed to be a little bit unfair that, the 2 best teams in the conference, both yours and the GLIAC, end up playing each other. And it was a close game between Ferris, Grand Valley, Northwest, and Pitt. And you end up Fair State beating Colorado Mines like 55-3. It wasn't even close.
Right.
Like those are the semifinal championship. I was saying, hey, those are the two semifinal games. Any kind of hope that this could lead to something in the future?
You've been a big proponent of that for years, and you've been very outspoken, which is awesome. I just think the more noise you make, that maybe something does get changed, because we're the one division that does the worst job in playoffs. Division One has a method that's working. 1AA has a great method, and I wish we could use their model and really study it and use how they do it, because they get the best teams in the playoffs. Division 3 does a better job than we do, and NAI does a better job. So D2 playoff system, it is broken, and you've been a huge proponent of it, and making noise. And I think this committee will make noise, and maybe people will look at it, but everyone has their own selfish interests, and rightfully so. They're looking out for their own people, but it's a broken system that needs to be fixed, and hopefully it gets fixed.
Alrighty, last two for the road. Very simple, very easy when it comes to this. Alrighty, if you could go back and tell head coach Craig Schurig in 2002, long time ago, coach, I know that, what would you do differently maybe in 2002, or offer the advice to young coach Craig Schurig?
Buy a lot of stock in Apple and Tesla, and then I'd be a rich man.
Alrighty, have you bought your running shoes yet?
I haven't. I have not. I will next week, and I need them, because I did some pretty good running over the last 6 months. So yeah, I've been running. I got a dog, my daughter's dog. We took over, so I run her, and so I need my new shoes.
So Grandpa Craig doing well?
Yeah, doing very well. It's been awesome. The girls are great to take care of. Family's doing great. Thanks for asking, and excited for the new year, and excited to get with our players. It's frustrating in the summer because you don't get to get with them, and it's just awesome to get back with them.
Best of luck this upcoming year.
Thank you, Jake.
That is Jake's conversation with Washburn head coach Craig Schurig earlier today at MIAA Media Days. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, it's time for Everyone Loves to list our favorite carnival games or activities. And Jake Labano back in studio for the list as well. All that's coming up here on Mic'd Up. Everyone loves the list here on Mic'd Up, and Jake is back from IAA Media Days, back in the studio. Happy to have you back for the rest of the show, Jake.
Back, ready to go.
Rolling for our list. Jake, our list, best carnival, or we've decided also had theme parks in here as well, because they're associated with merry-go-rounds for National Merry-Go-Round Day. Best carnival or theme park rides, attractions, just things you like to do at these places. What would be your number 4, Jake?
Number 4 is the dart balloon game.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's an honorable mention for me.
I like that. The dart balloon game.
The dart balloon game is fun.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me, I'm bad at this, but it's still very fun to me, is the test of strength. Using the little thing to hit the little button, make the bell go up.
Yep.
I'm not great at it, but it's still very fun. It's simple but enjoyable.
I got you. I'm all right with that.
It's a good one.
My number 3, you ready for this?
Okay.
The Lazy River.
God.
We're going water park.
Okay.
The Lazy River. I will tell you this. This list would have been completely different 10 years ago. It would have been completely different 15 years ago. It would have been completely different 20 years ago.
But 39-year-old Jake LeBon is a little different.
Gosh, if you could get me a Lazy River, then I just have another floating thing with a cooler of beer.
I was about to say, it's Jake with a beer in hand floating down.
Yes, Lazy River number 3.
I respect that. Number 3 for me, usually you're throwing at bottles, but it doesn't matter what the target is. Give me a good baseball throwing target game. That's the only sport I'm good at. So therefore, that's the only sport-related game I have a chance to win.
Number 2 is the, and fun fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's not a regulation-sized rim. It's
Pop a shot?
No, it's the deep shot to the basketball goal.
Okay.
It's 12 feet up.
Oh.
You know, where you shoot it, it's got the thing that rolls on there. It's not a normal-sized basketball rim.
Okay.
It's not circular. It's oval. That's why you miss a lot of shots.
Yeah, most carnival games.
But the basketball game, man,
that's very
fantastic.
Most of those screw you in some way. Number 2 for me, give me a good shooting gallery game. I'm a good shot. I enjoy the shooting gallery games. I can usually win stuff with that.
Take the water gun where you have to hit
Either that, I prefer the ones where get actual BBs in the little turrets best, but even the water ones I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I'm just a good shot.
Number 1 for me, I 1000% cannot do a merry-go-round anymore. No way.
Fair enough.
I did that a couple weeks ago with my son, and for kids don't get that teacup, experience, the vertigo or whatever the heck you call it.
Yeah.
I definitely do now.
Oh no.
So no more circling stuff.
Yeah, no more spinning things.
But I still love a roller coaster, man.
Dude, that's my
number 1 with the roller coaster.
My number 1 as well as roller coasters. I love roller coasters. They rule. At a carnival, at a theme park, I don't care. You give me a roller coaster, we're having a very good time.
I think I haven't gone on a roller coaster in probably 10 years.
Well, Jake, we'll go to a theme park sometime and we'll go on a roller coaster together. They're a really good time. Let us know on the text line or in the YouTube comments what your favorite carnival or theme park activity is as well. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Brendan Dorzinski will join us for CrossTalk. Right here on Mic'd Up, Fulton caster Jake LeBon back in studio with us, back from MIAA Media Days in Kansas City. Tati, you've been in Kansas City. Matt Derrick was still in St. Joe when we chatted earlier today, holding down the fort in St. Joe. We discussed this briefly. It feels insane to a little bit to go to training camp as a fan because there's no shade in that heat.
Yeah, but you get so close to the players.
You do.
And you get so much more I don't want to access to the players, because right now if you try to go and buy a game on StubHub, like let's say you are or Tickets for Less or one of those secondary sites, right? Let's check this out. And you just type in Chiefs and try to get a ticket to a game. Let's just pick a game. What game are we going to, man? What are we gonna go to?
Let's pick like Chiefs Raiders when they come to town.
Okay, well, how about we do
or whatever you have pulled up right now.
How about we do Chiefs Jags?
Okay, sure. Let's do that.
Chiefs Jags. All right. You wanna get in
I want to get in the door.
We're going to get in the door.
We're going to get in the door.
I'm going to get to see Patrick Mahomes
Play
throw a
football.
pass for the first time ever. I'm jacked.
Yeah, you're going to get in the door.
What's the ticket cost?
Oh, cheapest one's got to be like, what, 180?
$150.
Oh, 150. Yeah, no.
So if
No,
you,
I get the
that's
I get
the
the
reason
appeal.
why.
Yeah, I
That's
get the
it.
appeal.
That's
Yeah.
the only reason is you just say, hey, look, that's that's per ticket.
Yeah.
So that's $150 a ticket. You're looking at $300.
You got
plus
parking.
So that's $330.
And you got travel up there and all the usual stuff.
Okay, let's say that's another gas and all that,
Yeah.
plus some food, tailgate, and all that. That's $400. You got to spend some stuff in the game. You're looking at minimum right now. If I want to go to the Jags game, $450 for 2 people.
Yeah, it's an expensive trip.
To go to
A lot cheaper to go to training camp.
To go to St. Joe, you can bring I don't know if you can. I don't think you can bring lawn chairs anymore.
No, Matt and I were talking about it. I don't even think you can bring an umbrella. Like your protection from the sun is a big floppy hat.
So and that's fine.
Which always means it works. Wear a bucket hat.
But you're so much closer
I
to
get,
the action.
I get the appeal.
At $150 is section 404, which is the upper tank, mid-level upper tank or higher.
Yeah.
And that's $150. So that's why you go there, because you can't afford it, and it's not as long, a little bit less, maybe.
It's just a different experience. You get a chance for autographs, stuff like that. So,
and even if you're not a big autograph guy, you can watch it and you can see him run around, and it truly is. You could argue it's better than a game day experience for kids if you are watching football. Now, and maybe it's even better because you don't have drunk idiots. You're not, 8,000 feet away. The whole games at noon. You got to get there at least by 10:30 because of traffic. So you're leaving here, at the latest 9. Games at noon, gets done at 3. Get to your car at 3:30. 45 minutes to get out of there. We're looking at 4:15. You're back home at 5:30 probably at the earliest. So that's a 9 in the morning to 5:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost you $500
versus training camps. You're out of there by like 1 o'clock.
Yeah. And it's more of a relaxed setting. You can actually talk to your kid. You're not, elbow to, what hole. So, I get it. I get why people would go there.
I get the appeal. As a guy, though, that despises summer and heat. Well, who knows? It's heat, not summer. Let me clarify, because people get mad at me when I say that. Heat. That's what I don't like. Summer is fine if it wasn't a billion degrees outside. That's my... Well, you and I will differ on this for forever. Speaking of somebody who knows a thing or two about being 1,000 feet away from a football game, or at least his quarterback's family was 1,000 feet away for his first football game at Arrowhead Stadium.
That still is so funny. They put Jordan Love's mom.
Brendan, I'm sorry.
And girl, I can't believe you let your quarterback do that. As an owner of the franchise, that's
too much fun.
Embarrassing. They put them on the moon.
In fairness,
that was too funny.
They only had 3 days to even know they should be at
now,
that game.
That is fair. Like, that was a very last minute thing because, good old Captain Aaron Rodgers, was a little delayed on figuring out what he was doing. But yes, Brendan Rosinski of 580 Sports Talk is joining us for CrossTalk. Brendan, thank you for taking the time to join us here. Because we spoke about this off air, I wanted to bring this up. Our list today was favorite carnival rides / theme park rides.
Mm-hmm.
As a carnival connoisseur, or at least fair connoisseur that you are, do you have a favorite specific ride or activity you like to do?
Almost all of them. I love carnival rides, fair rides. I can do a regular roller coaster; those are fine. But carnival rides, absolutely. The Tilt Whirl is a classic. The best one, my favorite, is the octopus. You've got the big arms out, and you've got usually 4 cars.
Yeah, just being tossed around.
Man, you are me 15 years ago right now.
The best one, there's one version of it called the Predator, where you are truly going sideways, parallel to the ground. That's the best one. That's the best one, easily.
See, that just feels too aggressive for me. I like a good roller coaster. That's a little aggressive for me.
That sounded great to me 15 years ago. Now that just sounds awful.
Now I want one that has enough G-force that I can't feel my feet. I'm being whisked around so much that I'm losing a little feeling in my feet.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. If
it's a safe way for you to lose feeling in your feet.
If I'm able to go on
I'm sorry,
on a roller coaster, that's funny by the way.
No, it's not. That's 15.
No. That's
That's
fine.
15.
No, that's not 15. He's got to deal with that. If he just got diagnosed with diabetes, then I would say that's 15. He's been having that since what? How long have you been diabetic?
13 years.
There you go.
Yeah, 13 years.
Yeah, it's okay. That is not. You know what? We're going to review. Review says play on.
Nonetheless,
I hope I'll tell you this. If I go on a legit roller coaster, you know, like the Mamba or, you know, one of those type, the new Zambezi Zinger, the Patriot. I'm talking about Worlds of Fun because it's just down the chute. And I can't do that. Then I'm washed. Like I'm fully washed. Because like I go front row roller. I remember the old the old Orient Express in Kansas City, and I'm front row on that thing all the time. Loved it. And if I can't do a roller coaster now, I'm washed. Like that'll be the true definition.
That'll be
washed.
push you out to pasture. You're done.
After. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just done because I love those. Like athletically, I'm still not washed because I can still dunk basketball. Okay. Did that every year.
Wow, that must be nice.
Every year I've been able to do that. You know, I go to Washburn's gym or whatever, and then I go grab a ball, see if I can still dunk. I can still dunk. So I'm not washed athletically. Okay. But like my soul, if I can't go on a roller coaster,
is washed. It's destroyed.
That'll be a sad day, man.
When's the last time you went on a roller coaster?
I don't even at least 10 years ago.
I was on one I went with my now wife. We went to San Diego in 2021 to visit her sister and her sister's boyfriend. And we went to Disneyland and we did California Adventure, and they've got the one big roller coaster. I ate one of those Disney turkey legs right before going on, like right before going on. And it was later, so it was not a big line to get on. We're like halfway through the ride, and I genuinely felt like, I don't know that this turkey leg is going to stay down.
Well, that's what you get for eating the turkey leg.
There are two ways this might come out. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I don't know if I'm going to make it through this ride, man.
I want to
there for a little bit.
I want to say like maybe I went on a roller coaster at back in 2011 or 12 or something like that. And it might have been 10 years.
Oh yeah, I would imagine the next one will probably be pretty tough. Go to a fair or something. Well,
there's something light.
Well, we might. I'm going on vacation with the family this week.
Ease your way back in. Ease your way back in.
No, I just got to do it.
Well, that sums up Jake LeBon's mindset for a lot of things.
Just right gonna be. It's either it's go big. Got to find out, right?
All right.
You know?
I mean, that's fair.
There's no
jump in the deep end.
There's no dip your toe in the water and ease into one of these things.
Okay. Well, hey, more power to you.
Where do you land on log rides?
Log rides are fun.
Very pro water ride.
Okay.
That's why
log flumes rule.
Hey, one of mine on my list was the Lazy River.
Yeah, Jake had a water park.
That doesn't
activity.
count.
Why not?
The Lazy River's not a ride.
You ride around the Lazy River on a tube. That's just a very
I've learned to
slow moving ride.
I've learned just go with it.
I'm gonna protest that.
It's don't
worry, I protest enough.
It's a very slow moving ride.
To talk actual sports on this Sports Talk program with Brendan here, we had to start off with probably the biggest Chiefs news of the day. Kadarius Toney had surgery on his knee this morning to clean up some cartilage. The goal is to hopefully have him back by week 1. He is more than likely going to miss all of training camp, at least the physical reps. I know Patrick Holmes, which we'll hear from on 580 Sports Talk today, and him making comments, the mental reps will still be there. I know probably doesn't surprise most of us that he eventually got hurt. You'd like to be a little bit later, but the injury concerns are what they are. This, though, feels like missing out on all of training camp when he's still trying to get himself ingrained into the offense. It feels like some real bad timing, even if he doesn't miss any regular season action.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you're going to now have 2 seasons with Toney in which he doesn't really get an introductory period to what all is incorporated. I mean, you talk to anybody in this offense, anyone who's played for Andy Reid, anyone who's been a part of this offense, it's not easy. And for wide receivers, there is a lot that is asked of you. There's a lot you have to know. There's a lot of secondary things you have to know. You've got to know what all the other receivers are doing on the field. So to go through what will be a year and a half of having Kadarius Toney and not having him get that acclimation period, that's going to be difficult. The other thing, too, and we talked about this on 580 Sports Talk yesterday, This is the biggest reason, more so than age, more so than skill set, more so than physical gifts. This is why it is worrisome to put so many of your eggs in the Kadarius Toney is wide receiver 1 basket, because he has missed so much time in his career. 2 seasons. So it's a brief career so far, but he has missed a lot of time. He's played 19 of 34, I believe it is, regular season games in the last 2 years. That's not that many. That is not very many at all. In fact, it's barely over 50%. That to me is the biggest worry, that, okay, hopefully this is cleaned up. He can get back. Who knows if he is going to be 100% when he comes. If he comes back week 1, I doubt he's going to be 100%. Maybe he's 80%. That's still a great athlete. That's still an asset. But then it's going to take a little while for him to get acclimated. And then, fair or unfair, it's just the reality of the situation. Why am I supposed to depend on his health when, to this point, we have not been able to depend on his health? That's the biggest worry for me. So in terms of the injury itself, get healthy. They don't need him to beat the Lions. They don't need him to beat the Jaguars. Who's week 3? I just looked it up yesterday.
I couldn't even tell you.
Can you name another player who has such a high ceiling in the NFL? And I'm not talking about just the Chiefs. I'm talking about anywhere in the NFL where you look at this and go, man, if he's healthy, he is a difference maker. But if he's not, that is going to really hurt the team.
This doesn't,
like who normally is unhealthy.
Right. So this doesn't come directly answer. And I'll get to it. The name I brought up yesterday was actually Matt Stafford, who I know has been in the league for a long time now. If you remember, because this is kind of forgotten about now, Matt Stafford's first 2 years,
a lot of injuries.
13 games.
No,
first 2 years. So just historical.
Yeah, like non-quarterback, like a wide receiver, right? Well, a part of me like Joey Bosa comes to mind.
Yeah, one of the Bosas.
But
they're banged up all the time. But they're still all pros, even missing a couple of games.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, those are the guys that I would point
like
to.
There's really not somebody who you go, man, if they could play and they missed a ton of time. I'm trying to think of one.
I will give you a very similar player who missed a similar to Toney in skill set, I think. I think this player has a slightly higher ceiling, but I'm biased toward that. And he's only been around for 1 year. Christian Watson, I think, is that kind of player. He missed a lot of time last year. There's a reason that the whole first half of the season, even Packers fans were like, this dude's a bust. Like, why did we waste a pick on a freaking FCS guy who played like 2 years in a COVID year? Like, why did we bother? Yeah. Second half of the year, when he stopped getting concussions and his knee recovered, like, oh, dang, he had 7 touchdowns in 5 weeks. Like, maybe this guy can actually play. Again, they're not exactly the same kind of player. I think Watson's a little more of a vertical player than Toney is, or has been to this point. But that's the kind of player I think of. And those are the kinds of players you worry about the most, right? Because they've got these soft tissue injuries. It's not like, oh, you break your foot. I mean, that's tough luck. Oh, you broke your hand. Like,
well, this isn't soft tissue. This is the meniscus. This is structural.
True. But he has had soft tissue injuries.
Hamstrings and other things like that.
Great. It's Alberto. He's Alberto Mondesi right now. He is Alberto Mondesi.
I disagree with that because fair or it's unfortunate for Mondesi. He can't control it. Kadarius Toney contributed more in 2 quarters in the Super Bowl than Alberto Mondesi did to the Rams in 5 years.
I'm not talking about production. I'm talking about what he could bring to a team. Like you saw what he could bring in a 3-week span in baseball. And you're like, wow, that would be such a big difference if we could get him for a length of the season.
I've said this, and I kind of get where you're going with Mondesi, as I've also said, and this is just probably a topic for a longer day. I think looking back on it, what Mondesi actually, his potential is a lot lower than what Royals fans should realize what it ever was. Like, when you really start looking at what he was doing, he had some really nice hot stretches that were great. I do not know if fully healthy Alberto Mondesi would be as great as what everyone thought he would be. That's a longer, deeper discussion. We're never going to know.
You're never going to know. And that's
I
the
agree.
point.
And that's why I think you're right. Yeah.
Those hot stretches
were very nice, and those flashes were great.
Good.
They just can't stay healthy.
And you saw that in the Super Bowl.
Brendan, I want to get your take on this while you're here, because this has divided Jake and I heavily.
By the way, really quickly.
Yes.
In a 7-year career, which would include, when you factor in the COVID year, 1,032 Major League Baseball games. Adalberto Mondesi played less than 35% of those.
Yeah.
That is.
He
poor
doesn't
guy.
play. Well,
He hasn't played for Boston yet.
Well, what are the 19 of 35? I mean, we're just over 50. And how many of those did
he play like 5 snaps?
Yeah, did he play not even factor in?
Dan
That's
had
true.
the numbers yesterday, actually. One time in his career, he's played 70% of the games.
Yeah.
Hopefully that changes. Brendan, I wanted to get your opinion on this while we had you, because Jake and I are divided on this. Richie James or Sky Moore? Who has a more impactful and better year for the Chiefs? Because we are fairly divided on this. And with Tony's injury, it's now much more relevant.
Oh, man. I'll go with Sky Moore.
Thank you.
I think Sky Moore has the higher potential as a wide receiver. I think also this is going to sound strange. I think with a better quarterback who you can trust, I think Richie James does less for your offense. Not that he's a bad player, not that he won't do something for the offense, but like, if you go back and look at Richie James's numbers from last year, when you just take his counting numbers into effect, he had a really good year. He had the best year of his career in terms of
receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
Look at the rate stats. Look at yards per reception. By far the lowest of his career. Yards per game were second highest. His catch rate went way up. His average depth of target way down. He caught a bunch of like 4-yard passes and wide receiver swings and stuff. Like, I think he's a nice player. I also think last year's numbers were totally inflated because his quarterback was Daniel Jones. I think when you've got a quarterback and an offensive system, they're going to push it a little bit more. They're going to use the boundaries a little bit more, and you can actually try to pressure the defense because of who your quarterback is. I would lean with a player who I think has a more established route tree. I would go with the player who I think has more potential going vertically. So I would lean with Sky Moore. Again, that's not a criticism of Richie James. Being in spending 1 year in Brian Dable's system where they tried to protect Daniel Jones as much as possible, probably going to end up making Richie James a couple $1 million over the balance of his career. But I just don't know that he can replicate that with a quarterback who actually can beat you with his arm, which, as we've seen in big games the Giants have been in, Daniel Jones is not going to do that.
I look at this as they rave about his quickness and yards after the catch, and that's what the Chiefs have done a lot more recently. And so now, instead of just doing dinking and dunking with Richie James, you can actually use his skill set and off the line of scrimmage and running slants, doing that, and he can catch it and he can go, because you're not going to have safety help, because the safety help is going to be with Travis Kelce. And that's why I look at, we're actually going to run plays for our wide receivers now, instead of just, hey, dump it down to you and best of luck. They're going to scheme them open, I think. And that's why I it's not a gigantic concern for me, the wide receiver position, because I think you've got Kelce. You got to have a number one. If they didn't have Kelce, this would be a problem. But
100%.
I imagine they would have spent differently on that.
Yeah,
correct. If they didn't have Kelce.
Correct. But I think with the 5 guys and 6 guys that they've got, and Mahomes, that offensive line, I'm not worried about it. It's just going to be who's going to end up being number 2. Who's going to end up doing it? Because I think at the end of the day, he's still going to throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns.
Probably.
If he does, that'd be really awesome, and he should maybe win back-to-back MVPs if voters don't get voter fatigue. Brendan, what's coming up on 580 Sports Talk today?
We will talk about John Sherman's letter to Royals fans and the fact that it's a crocky. You know what? It sucked.
It did nothing.
It's an announcement of an announcement in 30 days.
Exactly.
Hey, let us know what's happening in 30 days.
We'll also hear from Patrick Mahomes. We will make a little fun of George Klevakov. Also, Michael Swain is going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly. A lot of KU news. We're done at 5:30 today, too, for Royals baseball. So 3 to 5:30. We'll talk to you guys then.
Brendan, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to talk to you.
That is Brendan Dorzinski of 580 Sports Talk. That'll do it for the 1 o'clock hour of Mic'd Up. Coming up next, Andy Reid and Charles Omenihu. We'll hear from them both as they spoke at Chiefs training camp earlier today. For the final hour of Mike's Up here on 580 WIBW, Fulton Caster and Jake Laban with you. Thank you for joining us on this Victory Tuesday edition of the show. Jake, the Royals actually won a game. They did.
Yeah, they did.
They did it. I spent 10 whole minutes on it.
Yeah, they did. Look at that.
I'm proud of them. They snapped their 5-game losing streak.
Will they win 3 in a row this year at one point in time?
I'll be honest, I'm at the point where I think they might not do it.
No, they will.
I will believe it when I see it.
They will.
I'll see it when I believe it, to use Patrick Mahomes' quote.
I believe it.
When? They're not sweeping the Guardians.
Greinke's today, his road record's not great.
His overall, I looked this up earlier today. Do you know the last time Zach Greinke had double-digit losses in the season? Because he's 1-10 right now.
The Royals. With the Royals?
Nope. He had more recently than that.
Oh, he did?
2018 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He went 15-11.
The Diamondbacks.
But I believe when I looked this up, every other year he's had double-digit losses is with the Royals, including his career high of 17 in his second season, when he basically told Dayton Moore, hey, I'm just going to go cut grass.
Yeah.
And then Dayton was like, hey, you're kind of good at this.
Please don't.
Please don't. And then he won a Cy Young and is going to be a Hall of Famer. But Jake is correct. Zach Greinke going tonight. Alec Marsh going tomorrow. They're not sweeping Cleveland, so they're not winning 3 in a row. Then they play Minnesota next. They're probably not even winning one of those games because the Twins are just destroying the Royals this year. Probably not going to get 3 in a row with the Mets. Definitely not the Phillies. Probably not with Boston. What? When St. Louis comes to town for 2 and then they play Seattle after that?
They're going to find a way to ham and egg it. They're going to get
I found it. No, I found it. I found where they might. I found a spot where they might do it. They got to go to Oakland for 3 and then to Seattle for 3. They might be able to do it.
No, here's where they're going to do it. Okay. They could do it like, they'll lose today, but win tomorrow and then win 2 in Minnesota.
That's not happening.
Or they beat the Minnesota on one day, like on Sunday, and then take 2 of 3 against the Mets.
That's possible. That's theoretical.
You know what I mean? Or then lose to the Mets twice, then beat the Mets, and then beat the Phillies the next
Maybe.
2. There's a way. They're going to do it. They're
Okay.
gonna do it. They're gonna
Jake, for
Yeah.
my own sanity, I hope that
Gonna
truly happens. Coming up in the 2:00 hour of the show, we are going to hear from Andy Reid and Charles Omenihu. They both spoke at training camp today. We have today's edition of Odds Makers, where I'm sure Jake will ask me a very lovely question that'll make me question my entire life when it comes to the Royals, because when we talk about them losing, it makes me sad inside. And then we are going to get Jake's thoughts on Kadarius Toney's injury and where that stands with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. You can join in on the show, as always, on our text line, 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the comment section of our YouTube live stream at just youtube.com. Sports on 580 is that YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't. We would appreciate it. We are inching ever closer to 300, so every little subscriber we get gets us that closer to that very fun milestone. And you can jump into the comment section as well. But at training camp today, several Chiefs spoke. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon, Charles Omenihu. They were the speakers today. You'll hear from Jerick McKinnon and Patrick Mahomes on 580 Sports Talk coming up starting at 3 o'clock today. But for the Chiefs, Andy Reid spoke with the media today, and he gave the injury updates, which are, of course, important. His thoughts on Kadarius Toney, then just some other updates as well. So here's what Big Red had to say earlier today.
All right, as far as injuries go, Kadarius had surgery on his knee this morning for cartilage, and it should be relatively quick as we go here. He wanted to get that thing taken care of. And then Wharton is still on PUP. Isaiah Moore had a little knee inflammation, but did some stuff this morning. A shout out to LeBron and Junior, just that he's okay as we go here. I mean, that's a tough deal that he's going through right now. On the football side, it was good work today. The guys, they're challenging each other. We were able to put the shells on today, and then the practice kicked up to an hour and 55 minutes. So we're continuing to ramp up here. We'll take a little step back once we get into pads on Friday. But for these next today and tomorrow, it'll be that hour and 55-minute practice with shells. So, but I like the tempo. I like the challenge that the guys are doing. You're getting a good offensive play, good defensive play, offensive play, defensive play. And so they're busting their tail with each other and still taking care of business. All right, well, that time's yours.
Andy, what do you think is a reasonable time table for Toney to get him back out here?
I mean, there's a chance. There's a chance for the first game, but we'll see. We'll just have to see how the recovery goes with him. But, I mean, he's bound and determined he's going to be there for the first game. We'll see how it goes.
Does this change your thought on using him on special teams at all?
Now let's see how he does. Let's see how the rehab part goes. And, if you have to have a surgery, I think we caught it at a good time. It looked like it was good when they were in there, all of that. So, as long as the recovery goes well, I'm pulling for him there, in a positive way. So.
Coach, you guys have big plans for him on offense heading into the year. How much can this really change, considering you had your scheme out such as you go? Or is that?
Yeah, listen, I look at it the other. I go, I'm glad they caught it, that it happened this early where he can get himself back. And we've got a lot of time still left. He's a smart kid, so he picks his stuff up fairly easy. I don't think he's going to have a tough time getting back in. It's just getting back into football shape. Yeah.
Coach, just to clarify on some timeline stuff, did he have a surgery in the offseason as well?
No. He was it the year before when he was with the Giants.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then with him, once you get back out here, how hard you deal with this all the time with players? How hard is it to keep them from trying to push it too hard, to get back too soon?
Yeah.
Things like game one and all that.
Yeah, Rick will take care of the tempo on that. So he and his people there do a good job with that. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think getting it done now is a good thing, as opposed to it lingering and then getting worse and worse. And I'm glad he got it knocked out and done. Yeah. Yeah, so the urgency picked up a little bit today with the shells on, and they'll pick up another notch with the pads on, and it looked like they picked it up a little bit today, and as long as they can do that and hang with the scheme that are taking place, I think they're going to be okay. I mean, they've been good players in the past, and they've got good tape, and so I think they're going to be okay. But they got to push through. There's certain level that we expect him to be at.
There's one more thing with Tony. What specifically happened on that play? Did you get a sense of it?
Yeah, really. I mean, it was part of his meniscus tore. So, that's the way he turned. And, he might have had a little something in there anyways, and it just, it caught a little bit more. So, you take care of those things, get him knocked out. Yeah, he's one you got to really watch, right? That guy, but he's doing good. He's 100 miles an hour on everything. You got to tell him in walkthroughs. It's not full speed. He's one of those guys. So it's good that he got a couple plays in.
Andy, what's been the key with McKinnon becoming who he's become after all he's been through, and what's he still do for you guys this way?
Yeah, he's smart. He's a quarterback, a legitimate quarterback in college, and on a good team, and then he got in the league and he had some productive years. Injuries got him there for a bit, and we were lucky enough to get him here, and he's just he's solid. He's somebody that you trust, and everything he does, all phases of the game. So, including special teams, he can do everything.
And at his age, at that position,
he's a dinosaur. I mean, when you're 9-10 years into that running back position that has a lifespan of 3 years, if you're lucky. I mean, it's a tribute to him and the way he takes care of himself.
Pacheco, one thing last year, he had the best stop rate in the league as far as getting stopped at a few yards. It was a better rate than Kareem that year, too. What gives him that trait? Just that he seems to find yards and fall forward every time.
Yeah, and he can continue to work on that. He'll get better with that, just getting his pad level down. But he's got great feet and good vision, and then he runs extremely hard, and it's not the flashiest thing you've seen. It's so productive though, and that effort, and you see it everywhere. You see it in practice. You see it everywhere. He keeps that same speed.
We have a chance to talk to Dave about special teams later, but you guys are working on kickoffs and stuff. What have you kind of guessed what's going to happen now that you've been on the practice field a little bit with the kickoff return?
Yeah, we'll see. We have some competition back there. We'll just see how it goes. I don't want to slight anybody out of it because they're still competing, but we'll see. It's got a lot of guys that can do it.
On the rules stuff, looked at on how many people are just going to fair catch it. I mean, I know we're not to a game yet.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just kind of play that through the preseason game, see how things go.
That is head coach Andy Reid speaking earlier today. Of course, all the updates on Kadarius Toney's knee injury, how that's going to go in relation to when he got it cleaned up, and making it clear the first thing that got cleaned up was with the Giants last year, and then he had the little meniscus issue this go around, and they got that cleaned up. I'm just hoping he's back by week 1, and I know he's not going to be 100% by then, but just I feel for the kid that he's going to have to miss more time with injury, and it's just a difficult thing to have to deal with, and how it affects the rest of the reps and everything like that, and what the team is going to end up having to try and kind of set up a little bit and figure out, because it was the danger of putting so many eggs in the Kadarius Toney wide receiver 1 basket, because you had a feeling the injury was going to happen at some point. But overall, we'll see. We'll see how he does. Jake, anything particular stand out to you from what Andy Reid had to say today, kind of going over the different pieces at training camp?
Not really. I mean, it's typical.
It was very bare bones,
yeah,
Andy Reid.
Typical
day,
Andy Reid.
Which just, it seems to be the case. I'm interested to see what they do with it's a weird thing the tail end there, but what they do with the fair catch rule. We've talked about it. Is there any real reason for a Chief to ever try and return it? Just give Mahomes 75 yards every time and they'll probably score.
I think the biggest determining factor is game situation.
Okay.
Opening kickoff, no, there's no reason to. But, at the end of the first half, try to get a big kickoff return. Plus, if they got somebody, Yeah,
I was gonna,
if Derrick Prince is that guy.
That was what I was gonna say. They keep raving about how good he is. If Derrick Prince shows some ability to pop one, do you think they'll let him kind of run it a little bit more?
I mean, starting at 25 ain't bad.
No, it ain't.
And
I think the rule is dumb. I want to make the clear. I think the rule is very stupid. But if they're gonna give it to you, I mean, why not just start at the 25 every time?
Don't have to worry about getting a holding penalty, backing up to the 8-yard line.
Don't have to worry about fumbling it because someone hits you a certain way.
No, I if you're the Chiefs outside of a specific situation, and they don't have that. I mean, who's the best return guy right now in the league? There's your answer.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's no standout.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe if you catch it at the 2, but still you ain't getting to the 25 probably. So yeah,
That'd be difficult. Yeah, we'll see. Also, speaking at training camp today, a new addition to the Chiefs, one of their marquee free agent signings, Charles Omenihu, the new defensive line for the Chiefs. Here's what Charles Omenihu had to say speaking at training camp earlier today.
Hey, Charles,
What's up?
Has the Andy Reid training camp experience lived up to the hype?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely challenging. It's definitely something that, you got to every day prepare your body for. But it's good. It's when you with a team that's very, very talented, offensive line is very, very talented as far as my perspective, and the quarterback is very talented. Every day you come out here in this kind of training camp environment, it pushes you to keep your mental has to be up in physical shape and condition.
Reid told us yesterday that he really envisioned using you a lot like you were in San Francisco as far as inside, outside, moving around a lot. How do you feel like you are acclimated and sitting in with you for last week?
I think I'm doing pretty good. The biggest difference is just dropping. That's something I haven't done my whole career. So that's something that I'm every day learning and asking questions and trying to get better at. But as far as the role of rushing inside and out, it's been good. Definitely what I've been doing and continue just improving that in those 2 areas.
Was there any drops in Texas?
A little bit, but that was like 5 years ago. So.
Is there anything else that you've been picking up throughout just the team or just your time here with the Chiefs so far?
Just talk. I like talking to O-line as far as what they see from me, deficiencies and stuff that I can be better at. So when you got a guy like Juwan and Donovan, or vets and guys that have really made their stamp in the league, it's good to go against those guys every day.
Charles, what does the first day of pads mean to you? It's coming on Fridays. What do you want to show?
Physicality.
And when you say that, what does that mean? What are you wanting to show your teammates? Just
implement an attitude of like when you in pads, we're teammates, but at the same time, you gotta assert your dominance in one way or the other, and that's the same thing for the guy across from you. So it's just good competition. Gearing yourself, sharpening your iron, you're sharpening your knife for the season.
Charles, you were forthcoming on social media today about some of the things that you do well. Is there a sense that maybe there's something improved here in Kansas City that you were able to maybe improve it elsewhere?
Nah.
So how much do gain for this learning we are playing?
It's good. I mean, like I said, you got O-line the best O-line in the league. So when you go against guys every day that are at the top of their game at each position, it's good. It challenges you. It makes you put your best foot forward. And that's what I got to do every day when I go out, when I line up against whoever, Donovan, Trey, Creed, Thuney, or Juwan.
How much play-by-play basis is what you're doing based on who's lining up next to you?
Yeah, you definitely, not trying to scout our guys, but I definitely, when I go against cross the line, know what I have to do versus each guy. They're set, where their hands are going to be. If they're aggressive, they're light setters. If they jump the count a little bit, whatever the case may be, I have an idea for all 5 guys.
Charles, Patrick was just in here saying that today was all about testing each other. He was testing what he could get away with, what he could see. What did you feel you were tested in today?
I think just the endurance part, credit to Coach Reid and the way he structures camp. He makes you grind, man, to where practice is harder than the game. So I think for me personally, that was a big thing for me, is pushing through and not just pushing through to get through, but pushing through to still be impactful.
With San Francisco, obviously, you get expectations there as well. It's a great organization. Did you feel any different things here about expectations during camp about where you guys want to go, or is it the same in both those places?
I mean, both places want to go to the Super Bowl, want to win Super Bowl. Obviously, this place has done it, though. 2019 they won, went back again, and then this past year, and then things like 5 straight AFC Championship games. So right now we are the standard. So you just, when you come here and join the organization like this, you gotta uphold that standard every day.
Charles, what are some of the early things you picked up from Joe Kelly this year?
Joe, I like Joe. Joe's a good dude, bro. And the thing that I just picked up is about just pushing myself. Never feeling like you've arrived, and he always makes that a point that nobody's arrived, no matter what, no matter how you got here. Nobody's ever arrived, so you got to just keep every day. You got to be on your toes.
Without Chris Jones and Frank Clark's obviously gone, stuff like that too. There's not a lot of veteran leadership on the D-line. So who are you guys looking to lead the D-line right now? And do you feel any, maybe not pressure, but do you feel like as one of the veteran guys, you have to step into that role a little bit during camp too?
I mean, I think we got guys who definitely are guys that have been in the league. I mean, you've been in the league 4 or 5 years. You're a vet. So you got Derrick in there as well, Dane Shelton. So, I mean, I don't think there's a lack of. I think, obviously, Chris is a huge piece, and he's a guy that has done it here his whole career. But you got guys in the room that are also leaders. And as far as for me, I'm new, but, I mean, it's my 5th year in the league, so I feel like I can share some knowledge to the guys. But I feel like everybody just plays their role as picking each other up. It's a unit, so that's what we do for each other.
Last two, Matt. If I'm not mistaken, when you were in San Francisco, they trained at the facility, right?
Yes.
So you didn't have the crowds and all this dorm life.
How
is that different? Is this easier, better, more fun, worse?
I mean, like I said, it's what the organization feels like is best. So you roll with it. In San Fran, we went to a hotel. We went at a dorm, but the hotel was like 2 minutes away from the stadium, so it wasn't really that much of a hike. But this is cool. It's a cool experience.
Charles, looking at a team run period today, would you speak to the benefit of that from a mental standpoint, even though the pads aren't on yet?
I think it's just gearing yourself up. Obviously, with the pads, to me, it's a lot different. But you're just gearing yourself up. For me, as a mental thing, understand what blocks I could get, understand the formations that I'm going to get, and playing fast.
As Charles Omenihu speaking at Chiefs training camp earlier today, pads come on Friday, where the contact ramps up, the physicality ramps up. Charles Omenihu speaking a lot on that, a lot of questions about that, which I feel like for defensive players, that's maybe one of their most favorite parts of training camp.
It's annoying.
Did you not like it when the pads came on, or like how happy they are when the pads come on?
I just didn't like practice. I'm not going to lie to you. I just didn't like practice. Like Travis Kelce, I mean, that's the reason why he is the way he is. He says he loves training camp, all of that. Maybe I'd love training camp too if I was making $15 million a year.
I think that would change your opinion a little bit.
But no, defensive players are just crazy. And I'm not an offensive lineman who love doing that type of stuff. And I'm not a linebacker who's nuts. DBs hate pads getting on worse than wide receivers do.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So all your defensive back teammates hated when the pads came on?
Hey, every one of them said it. Dion said it best. You don't pay me to tackle. That's how every DB wants to feel. You don't pay me to tackle.
I mean, that's kind of fair, but
no,
also
it's 1,000% fair. You don't pay me this absurd amount because I tackle well.
And they pay you that because you cover well.
Exactly.
You keep guys in the football.
Exactly. Now, safeties are different.
Yeah, different thing.
Yeah, like different, but
yeah, that's fair. Interesting to see how the defensive line shapes up. Charles Omenihu not doing a lot of dropping coverage work a little bit. So that's new to him.
No, we got 3 linebackers to do that with Tranquil. That's the interesting thing. You even saw some stuff on at practice that's a little different with Tranquil and what they're able to do. Everybody on the D-line, rush the quarterback. See ball, get ball. Go get the quarterback. That's all you got to do.
I mean, in simple terms, yeah, but we also know Spagnuolo likes to get a little crazy with the...
Well, yeah, no, I'm twists and stunts and all that.
Yeah.
Fine, yes. No, I never want to see Charles Omenihu drop back into coverage.
So you were never a fan of, in the Bob Sutton days, randomly seeing like Justin Houston on the most critical 3rd down drop into coverage?
You answered your own question.
I know I did. I just had to bring up that very, very fun memory. Patrick Holmes and Jared McKinnon also spoke. You heard from them during 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and Dan coming up starting in the 3 o'clock hour. We're going to take a time out here on Mike Deb. When we come back, it's time for odds makers, and Jake will probably ask me if the Royals are going to lose a franchise record 107 games. All right, Jake. I will let you ask the question you ask every single Tuesday at about 2:30 to me that we've now had to modify because the original version of this question is a foregone conclusion. I still want to talk about it sometimes. It makes me sad.
We will adjust it back to 100 games.
Okay.
If they win 7 in a row.
Okay.
Because that's where we're at right now. They'd have to win 7 in a row in order for us to go back to 100. Because if you win 7 in a row, that eliminates the 7-game gap of 100 losses to 107 losses. But they got to win. They got to win 7 in a row.
Okay. That's not going to happen, but it's fun for us to at least have that out there.
Yeah, that'll at least be out there.
For what it's worth, Jake last week asked me, will the Royals lose a franchise record 107 games? I was at 88% last week.
They went on a losing streak.
It did not get better. They lost 5 in a row.
Another one. So we're at 3 5-game losing streaks.
Yeah,
now
they've had a lot more than the 2 you said for sure were going to happen.
They had 2 of them. They were just technically, this is the second one. They just had 2 of them back to back for a 10 loss.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, they did.
So technically,
I am bad.
It depends on how you look at it. Is that 10-game losing streak 2 5-gamers back to back?
Or is that just one 10-gamer and then
that's a 5-game losing streak?
And then
now
this is the second one. So, either way you look at it, you're right. Either way you look at it, you nailed it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'm at 95%.
They're on pace to lose 112.
Yeah, something like that. They are approaching like they're going to like set baseball records of how bad they are this year, which is just so disappointing. For what it's worth, our friends in Oakland are 28 and 74.
What are the rules?
29 and 73.
Oh my goodness. That's going to be
both.
It
is
come down to the
It's
stretch.
a race to the bottom, folks.
Yes.
It is a race to who will lose the most games this year. And you don't even get the reward of the guaranteed first overall picks of the draft lottery. So, there's nothing good that comes out of this. Truly. There's nothing good at all that comes out of this. But yeah, 95%. They're losing at least 107 games. I'm thinking like I don't know when they'll win their 30th game. It could be tonight. There's also the really, really high chance if the Royals somehow, let's say the Royals don't win a game till August 1st. They could not have 30 wins till August 1st. That's not out of the wrong possibility because they could lose these next 2 games to Cleveland.
Fulton, they haven't won 3 in a row. Anything is possible.
Imagine if we had to say though that it comes August and that's when they get their 30th win.
That would not surprise me.
wouldn't surprise me either, but it's still disappointing.
Well, yeah, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year, I'd said, oh, dear goodness. But now that we're at July 25th, I'm like, yeah, that's that.
You're like, that tracks. That's about right.
I understand that one. I get that one.
Jake, where would you be at on if they're going to lose 107 games and more?
Because
I don't think we got you down last week.
I'll go 80%.
Wow, only 80 compared to my 95.
Yeah, I'll go 80%.
Look at you being the optimist. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'll go 80.
Proud of you.
Maybe they'll have a chance, maybe not.
You're being the optimist.
We'll go 80%.
I like that.
Yep.
I like you being the optimist.
I mean, it's not. Don't get me wrong. 80% is not optimistic. That's 8 out of 10.
Brother, it's more optimistic than me, technically.
That's a B. That's 8 out of 10. You know, you get 8 out of 10 on any type of test, and that's really good. So,
except on this type of test, it's really bad.
So, yeah,
it's really bad on this one. We will get into this deeper coming up to finish off the show, though. But Jake, what are the odds Kadarius Toney is back by week 1? That he suits up and plays against the Detroit Lions on opening night?
Do you want what I think will happen or what I would do?
I want you what you think will happen.
Well, think
the odds of what you think happens beyond what you, Jake LeBon, as coach in charge of the Chiefs would do. Just what do you think in the actual world we live in? What do you think happens? What are the odds of him suiting up week 1?
50%?
Yeah,
it's 50-50. It's 50-50.
50-50?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm probably like close to like 55. But man, cleaning up a meniscus and getting that kind of repaired can be such a tricky thing. And he would need to be, because when's opening night? September 8th?
7th? 7th.
Yeah, 7th. I was off by a day.
Yep, 7th.
So I mean, that means he has
40 days.
Well, look at you being able to have that number available quickly.
40 days. I got a calendar right in front of me.
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough. Like I was assuming 40 days he can be ready and good to go, but you know, setbacks happen, crazy things like that. It's just a bummer. It's just a bummer.
Is it?
Yes.
I'll elaborate after this commercial break.
So we'll take a time out when we come back. Jake will apparently explain to me how it's not a bummer that Tony's going to miss time. Coming up here on Mic'd Up. Slowly wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Mic'd Up on a warm day here in the capital city, a victory Tuesday. Royals and Guardians, after the Royals won last night, will look to win 2 in a row, something that they rarely ever do at all. They'll try and do that 6:10 first pitch at 5:30 pregame here on your Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW. Likely no show tomorrow, 12:10 first pitch for the Royals and Guardians. So we will not be on the air at noon tomorrow. The Royals will. And depending on how quick the game ends, you might hear a little bit for us. You also might hear nothing from us tomorrow. It will just kind of depend on how quick the Royals go. But Jake, you teased this a little bit. I gave my thoughts on the Kadarius Toney injury when the show began today, kind of ran through what I thought and what the impact could be and when he could come back and just overall what it should be on this team. You seem to think there should not be a lot of panic or rush or anything with that. What are your thoughts on this Kadarius Toney injury?
One, my thoughts are I would not rush him back at all.
Okay.
At all.
That's fair.
At all. In fact, I would even think about putting him on the PUP list.
Oh,
Missed
okay.
the first 6 games.
Oh.
Okay? And the reason why is I don't care what occurs for the Kansas City Chiefs on September 7th, on September 17th, on the 24th. Don't care. Don't care. Their schedule is back-loaded. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs schedule. You ready? First of all, every year they're just going to wipe the floor with their opener. They do that every dang year. Remember?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
You don't want to play the Chiefs first game of the year.
Correct.
Andy Reid eviscerates you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we've
So,
been over that.
Don't need that one. They don't need him to beat Jacksonville. Ooh, Chicago. Ooh, I'm scared of Justin Fields. New
Be
York.
nice to the Bears. Come on, man.
New York, maybe. Minnesota.
If Aaron Rodgers is playing like old Aaron Rodgers, maybe the Jets need some work.
They got a good defense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Minnesota, not concerned. That defense is terrible. Denver, no. So that's your first 6 games.
Yeah. I see your point. Like,
do they need him for Detroit, Jacksonville, Chicago? No.
No.
Minnesota, no. Denver, no. Can I see them using him against Los Angeles? Yes. That is game number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
Game number 7
Game
is the
number
Chargers,
7.
which if he started the year on the PUP list, they'd be able to come off against the Chargers.
I don't care.
I see your point.
I don't care what happens in the month of September. The Chiefs and Chiefs fans need to realize this. The regular season is a means to an end. Do not care what they do. Actually, that's false. I care that they win 12 games.
Do you maybe have a potential interest on an 11.5?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine.
But they will, because they've never not won 12 games.
That's correct. That's
what matters.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney is injury prone.
Yeah.
I don't need him rushed back.
Yeah.
There's no point. Here's what happens. Ready? Let's look. Hey, are you is he good to go? Then keep him on the, just inactivate him, that type of thing. But there's no reason to rush him back. I want Kadarius. They need to treat Kadarius Toney a little bit like Jerick McKinnon. When did Jerick McKinnon start playing well?
November.
When do we need Jerick McKinnon to play well?
Like December and January.
There you go. That is what Kadarius Toney means. The Chiefs have got guys who can do it.
Yeah.
He is a great player, but I want my great player to play come
with the games that matter.
Here's the Chiefs' last couple games of the year. They go Cincinnati, December 10th, Buffalo. Then you got New England, then the Raiders, then Cincinnati, then the Chargers. You finish with Arizona. Those are your last 5 games.
Yeah.
Buffalo, New England, Las Vegas, Cincinnati, Los Angeles. I want Kadarius Toney there. I don't care about the beginning of it. I hope he doesn't play week 1. I hope he gets put on the PUP list. Give him time to recover. That's 6 games of wear and tear that he's not going to have. I don't want him back. I don't want Kadarius Toney back.
For you, where I feel like a lot of Chiefs fans would start to get a little, I don't know if I want to use the word upset, but would definitely probably be a little level of worried is if he started the year on the PUP list, had to miss those first 6 games. For you, if the Chiefs came out near the end of training camp like, hey, Kadarius Toney is going to begin the year on the PUP list. We'll see him in 6 weeks. You're just going to go, all right, let's go.
Hey, that's 6 weeks. He's not going to get hurt.
I haven't. I had not thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But looking at the opening part of the schedule, like, you're right. You don't need Kadarius Toney to beat Detroit. You don't need him to beat Jacksonville. You sure as hell don't need him to beat the Bears. And I'm higher on Justin Fields than you are. But still, that for Chicago, that defense is disgustingly bad, and he still has no one to throw the football to, really. The Jets, I've made my opinion known. I think Aaron Rodgers is cooked. I do not think the Jets are going to be that much better. They might win 10 games now with Rodgers because anyone is better than Zach Wilson, but that defense is good.
Yeah.
But who's going to cover Travis Kelce and then Minnesota different? I'm with you. Those six opponents, you don't need Kadarius Toney to win.
If you don't want to put him on the PUP list, that's totally fine. But then have him start week 3. What's the point of rushing back for the Lions for week 1? No, there's no point to rush him back for week 1. It's 4 weeks. He just had surgery on his meniscus. This is clearly a problem.
Yeah.
He didn't have it this past offseason. It was the offseason prior. Get it cleaned up, let it rehab, and make sure that he is healthy. And maybe I'm in the minority of this.
Yeah.
But after looking at the schedule and just making sure he's healthy, and you ready for this? This gives them another wide receiver to keep on the roster. Because right now, here are the 6 wide receivers that they're going to keep. They're going to keep let's say Toney doesn't get put on the PUP list. Okay. Here's your 6 wide receiver team for the Chiefs. Ready? It's going to be Toney, MVS, Richie James, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Rashee Rice. That's your 6, right? We know that. Who's the guy who filled in for the Chiefs here during camp as of late, who's gotten a lot of reps? Who is it? It's not one of those 6.
No?
Who is it?
I mean, Justin Ross has gotten a lot of runs.
It's Justin Ross who got a lot of reps. Justin Ross, you want to have a chance to make the Chiefs roster right now. They're not keeping 7 wide receivers. They're not going to do that. But here's what they can do. They can put they can put Kadarius Toney on the PUP list.
Yeah.
And keep Justin Ross.
And then you could showcase them for 6 weeks and see what it looks like.
And find out probably within 6 weeks, one of those 6 wide receivers
gets hurt.
Probably going to get hurt.
Throw him on IR for a little bit.
IR for a couple weeks. Bring back Kadarius Toney. You got to treat this kind of like the IL right now if you're the Chiefs.
Honestly, yeah, you treat it a bit like an injured list in baseball and just, throw a guy on there, open up a spot, sit for a little bit. Eventually, someone else is going to need to go on something.
Also, I don't know what the rule is, and I need to get more clarification, maybe from a Matt Derrick or somebody like that, on practice squad protection.
I think you protected 3 times.
I don't know, but that type of thing. But you could put the case that, hey, you know what? Last year, Justin Ross's career arc is very similar to another former Chief, and his name was Byron Pringle. They like Byron Pringle, undrafted, right?
Yeah.
Put him on IR. He didn't need to go on IR. IR just wait if you can stash some dudes. That's what they did last year for Justin Ross. They stashed him. Now, he has a chance to do it again. If he's getting more reps, see what he can do. This is your opportunity if you don't want to put him on the chopping block, because if you cut him, somebody will pick him up. Now, this is why I would not keep Shane Buechele. I would put Shane Buechele as your emergency 3rd string quarterback. I would not put him on the 53. I'd put him on the practice squad. I'm not going to take up a roster spot with a 3rd string quarterback. If he's the guy, then you cut Blaine Gabbert. You don't need 3 on the roster spot. Okay.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that front. This for me is the year for Shane Buechele.
Yeah.
Either he becomes your backup this year or you put him on the practice squad. If someone else wants him, they can have fun.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
And I don't think anybody's going to poach Shane Buechele from the practice squad.
Or if they do, have more power to them.
To put him on their active roster. Yeah. I just don't see that happening. Everybody's got their backup now, and you roll with your backup. You're not going to be like, oh, yeah, Shane Buechele's better than our backup. He hadn't even been in your system. None of that. So I don't see that happening, but I don't want him to be ready week 1. He probably could. There's no reason to rush him back. This is a long season.
You don't want to see him on the field until he's 100% healthy.
That, and the more he is who he is. He is a guy who gets hurt. He didn't even take one practice rep before getting hurt.
He got hurt in a warm-up, which is while the receivers warm up with punt drills.
This is who he is, and you have to treat that. Once, you know what, happenstance, not an issue. This is now like 8 times.
No.
You have to
Good
control
old fool me
it.
once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Fool me 8 times, then I'm an idiot. Okay, so
an absolute dumbass.
You need to operate as the less amount of games he plays, the better. Now, come at the end of the year, then it's try to find a way to make it work. This is not like, oh, put him through training camp and he'll get healthy and he'll get healthy and he'll get healthy. You know, the wear and tear. You know, we talked about that with Travis Kelce, right?
Yeah.
No, you can't treat him like that. He only has a certain amount of miles on his legs, it looks like. Make sure that they're the right ones. So this is why this gives more reps for Rashee Rice, more reps for Richie James, all those, and Justin Ross. I am still a Kadarius Toney guy. This team is better with Kadarius Toney. We saw that. But you can't play him. He's not an everyday player. He's just not.
So, like, would you suggest going forward, Chiefs essentially put him on a pitch count every season?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Get with my baseball metaphors. Give him an innings limit.
Yes.
You just deploy that bullet when you need it, but don't overuse it. I'm not against that. That's what they're doing with Jerick McKinnon, and it works. And I mean, that's different reasons because he's older and you're trying to keep the body from breaking down.
But Jerick McKinnon,
old running backs, they just break down.
Yeah, but you got to treat
similar theory.
Instead of him being old, he's injury prone.
Yeah, like it's the concept is similar. It's a guy whose body you're trying to protect from breaking down. It's a theory I did not think about. It is a way to do this that I did not consider, but it is one that I am fully on board with. I did not think I was going to be on board with whatever you were going to say.
Let me ask you this right now. Okay.
I'm on board.
Hey, let's rush him back for week 1. How many games is he playing this year? He ain't playing 21.
No.
Is he playing 20? Is he playing 19?
And there's a chance the ones he misses are the important ones. You know, I'm with, like, you need him for the end. And you're right. Yes. The regular season is a means to an end. The most the regular season managed for the Chiefs is trying to get a 1 seed. Like, you want to win games to get a 1 seed, but you're going to the playoffs. You're going to be into the playoffs, barring something catastrophic happening. Particularly, probably, it means something catastrophic happened to Patrick Mahomes. Knock on wood, that never happens. But I'll be looking at this a lot more. Keep him out to the bye week. Is it the end of the world if he doesn't play for 9 games? Go through the bye, have him come back against Philly, lie your tougher games in the back half. It's not the worst idea.
I just don't want him. Do not rush him back.
I think I'm with you. The biggest thing is don't rush him back. Let him come back when he truly is ready to go. Don't just try, force him back in there. We'll take one more final timeout. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with the mic drop. With the mic drop, and Jake, what do you got?
The MIAA is going to expand. The question will be when and how big, and divisions will be coming.
Where do you want them to expand to?
Whatever.
What's your number one draft pick?
Whatever keeps them the rivalries intact. I don't really care.
That's fair. That's always been your big thing with expansion, more rivalries intact.
No.
That tracks.
No, they're going to, and divisions are coming.
It's I think it's gonna be.
And I'm not anti that.
Yeah,
like,
you're here for it. You're a fan of this.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it does as well. It should be very interesting to see what happens down at the D2 level with the MIAA and their expansion whenever that eventually starts coming. My mic drop is very simple. Royals Guardians tonight. Royals may win 2 in a row. That'd be really cool. I don't know if they'll actually do it, but it'd be kind of fun. Would, make things infinitely more interesting. Again, we are going to be off the air to start the show tomorrow. 12:10 first pitch, the Royals and Guardians, 580 Sports Show with Brennan and Dan. They're coming next. Have yourselves a great rest of the day.